It's a pleasure to welcome you, colleagues. Today I work from home. Well, this is the situation of today, and I will try to be as open with you as possible. And I will tell you about the collateral management and clearing services that NSD provides to its clients. And after that, if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them, whatever they are. Now, one point to note, I will be showing an English presentation, but I will speak Russian. The national platform for liquidity management for public lenders was set up as a strategic idea on the NSD part. We have been implementing it from 2013. The key players and participants of the platform are government creditors, and the idea is to provide liquidity to commercial banks by entering into repo transactions with three-party services of NSD that do collateral management. As you can see, the major players who have their funds placed in our platform include the central bank, the Federal Treasury, and let me note here that the Federal Treasury places here both federal and regional budget funds. In Russia, regions are of two types. Some regions are authorized to place their funds in repo transactions, and those who cannot do that independently, and those access the platform through the Treasury account. The United Treasury account is operated by the Federal Treasury. So this connects us to the regions and the regional financial authorities that can have free funds that can place them on our platform. Currently, those are St. Petersburg City and the Leningrad region. We are working to expand the geography of our platform. The other counterparty of our creditors are borrower banks. Now we have more than 150 participants connected to tri-party services. And generally, we provide services to more than 300 participants of clearing transactions. So I will tell you later, towards the end of the presentation, about clearing services and others. NSD and the Moscow Exchange Group, as such, perform certain functions which are important for the markets as socially important institutions. So they can provide collateral management services to government creditors. The Moscow Exchange is Russia's largest exchange to service transactions. NSD, in turn, is a socially important central depository, which empowers us not only to keep in custody the securities, but also to keep them in account under repo transactions. We also are a socially important settlement system. As Mr. Rowe mentioned, integration with the payment system and the central bank system constitutes an important condition for effective settlement and for securities. We have an accredited valuation center or pricing center, as we call it, to use fair market value for collateral management purposes. NSD is also an important trade repository. We are not the central repository for a crowdfunding platform, as Mr. Kim described. Nevertheless, over-the-counter transactions must be reported to the repository, and this function is concentrated with us. We are a clearing institution as well. All this allows our respected members, such as the central bank, to place about 120 trillion rubles. That is as much as was placed since 2013. The Federal Treasury has placed even more, 146 trillion rubles since 2015. And the regional members, they started only recently, since 2019. Their placements are counted in billions of rubles. But government creditors' transactions are not the only ones we work with. We also provide collateral management systems for our banks and brokers as members. And also, as we said before, we do DVP settlements for securities transactions. So these are the key functions of the platform. Our key feature is the ability to service repo with basket of securities. This is an important advantage for customers because they can use collateral substitution. At any moment, you can remove the security from the repo transaction and replace it with any other equivalent security. Our government creditors have big baskets, and several different securities can be used as securities. Also, we have the feature of automatic allocation of securities. We implement daily mark-to-market valuation based on exchange prices or fair market valuation received from the pricing center. And based on this daily valuation, we allow customers to automatically exercise their liabilities in cash or in securities. Automatically, reports are generated to the repository on all OTC trades and any movement of funds related to that. For first and second parts of repo, we provide settlements in rubles or other currencies based on DP +1 or DP3 with netting. In repo transactions, the key feature is processing of corporate actions. And these have two options. Either securities are excluded from the transaction, or the revenue is transferred from the creditor to the borrower. This is an interesting feature because collateral management can rely on different technologies as well as corporate actions. And here we develop our own platform and communicate with also with representatives of ASCD. Now I will focus on two products, repo with the central bank and repo with the Federal Treasury. And in the statistical table, you see the turnover, taking into account the term. So we can see the difference between shorter and longer transactions, that is more than overnight and more than a weekly transaction. Our creditors pursue different goals. While the central bank focuses on market liquidity in implementing its credit and monetary policy, the repo transactions of the central bank was in demand on the market when in 2017 and 2018 we had liquidity surplus. Its transactions were almost reduced to zero. On the other hand, the Federal Treasury has to maximize the revenue to the budget by investing temporarily free funds. And this is represented by the red bars in the diagram. Now, which are the elements which ensure the development of the platform and provide opportunities for the customers? In the central bank repo transactions, we provide on-exchange repo with the basket of securities, as well as OTC repo, which is based on the Bloomberg platform. Also, depending on the term, we have implemented functions for automatic selection of a basket of security, because for longer term, the requirements for the basket are tighter. So you don't need to think about the choice of basket, it's done automatically. Another important element is repo with fixed and floating rate. Recently, as part of COVID response measures, the central bank launched a longer repo, such as a 1-year repo for liquidity purposes. The central bank applies the key interest rate as a monetary indicator. And under the softening of credit and monetary policy, this is one of the most demanded instruments on the part of banks. Nobody wants to borrow at a fixed rate if there are prospects for interest rates reduction. In this case, floating rate played a key role as an instrument of liquidity. And finally, the Bank of Russia allows customers to use DVP-1 online settlement. On the Federal Treasury side, it is more diverse, and I would like to even show this kind of roadmap that you can see at the bottom. I will briefly explain how the platform developed and how the functions were increasingly enriched. The federal repo on of the Federal Treasury was launched in 2015 on the Bloomberg platform. After that, we implemented the corporate actions processing as our function, which allows for expanding the terms of transactions. And the trend is increase repo terms. Currently, the average term has increased from 1 day to 32 days with the help of the following. The launch of floating rate is linked to daily interest rate, which shows from on the part of central bank which rate can be used in overnight. Then in 2019, we launched repo on the MOEX, Moscow Exchange platform, which replaced Bloomberg. In parallel, we worked on Eurobonds inclusion to eligible collateral basket. And finally, the Eurobonds were included into the Ministry of Finance basket. At the same time, currency transactions were launched. So we work in situations when the transaction currency is not the same as collateral currency in different combinations. And finally, our key initiatives for this year are repo with the United Treasury account, which allows regions who are not authorized to place their funds as in the repo transactions, and they use the treasury account. And also launch repo with the mortgage-backed securities. It is a sizable segment of the market that the government needs to develop, and it is the launch of a mortgage-based securities repo, which serves to improve the liquidity of the market, which is consistent with the government policy. And the final slide, just a few words about our clearing services. Collateral management is based on basic securities settlement services in DVP format. As you can see, NSD is integrated with different platforms such as Moscow Exchange, St. Petersburg Exchange for repo trades, the National Merchandise Exchange for commodities trades, and also participants can send bilateral instructions for settlements and clearing with NSD. The products we serve through clearing are repo, DVP, on-exchange trades, and deposits transactions. And the slide shows also the relative sizes. Repo is the bulk of it, followed by DVP, and the on-exchange market is following. And finally, our settlement offers to customers. Settlement in central banks money is a classical instrument that is used in Europe. Our customers also have it. Settlements for interbank transactions. In future, we will ensure settlements through the Bank of Russia clearing account, avoiding involvement of bank accounts. That's all on my part. I hope it was interesting, and I was happy to participate and ready to take your questions. Yes, we have questions. Are you planning to accept as creditors such big corporations such as Roscosmos, Rosnickel, and others? Yes, this is a good question. I will try to give a general answer. When working with government creditors, including corporations, we do so together with the exchange, and we are planning to enter this market together with the Moscow Exchange by offering comprehensive services for any placements on their part. This is a very lucrative segment, and this is where we want to be strategically. Thank you very much, Sergey.